they said that the mortuary was unable to take her because she was actually alive.
We reveal a famous hospital at the centre of a maternity scandal with hundreds of traumatised families. So she'd come back very cold?
Yes, we were just trying to keep her warm. So me, my partner at the time, my mum and dad, kept her alive on a radiator.
Many parents say the trust has been defensive and refused to take responsibility for failings.
I do some days still try to blame myself. I know that it wasn't my fault, and I know that the hospital are accountable for it.
A support group for parents harmed by the trust has hundreds of members, but their first meeting was attended by someone whose story seemed out of place.
I have a little baby.
This individual was linked to senior staff at the hospital, and the other attendees claim she tried to water down actions proposed by other parents.
Everyone else there was very keen to do things like call for an inquiry or hold the trust accountable, whereas this particular individual was making suggestions such as volunteering on the postnatal ward.
And then a bereaved parent found herself reported to the police on claims of threatening language. All this and more suffered by families in one trust for simply trying to improve maternity services. On a special investigation by Channel 4 News and the new Statesman, we have spoken to more than 20 families who came here to the maternity unit, this one of the most prestigious hospitals in the country, and who were left bereaved, harmed or traumatised by the care that they received here. And for many of them, they still do not have the answers as to why.
You know, I find it hard. There are only certain people in my life that I tell the story to because it's a hard story to tell, and it's an unbelievable story to tell.
Emma Cox was just 17 years old in 2011 and pregnant with triplets, although she lost one early in the pregnancy.
At 24 weeks, I went into spontaneous labour. They were born. I was told that one of them was stillborn and the other one was taken and resuscitated and taken to the neonatal unit. A short time later, it's hard to say how long it was, because in the moment, Lily was brought back to me and they said that the mortuary was unable to take her because she was actually alive.
Emma has never told anyone the full story of what happened to her. She points to her skin mottled with vitiligo, she says, from the stress still unprocessed.
I then asked if she was able to go to the neonatal unit with hope. They refused, and they said that due to her being without oxygen for such a long time, they were unable to intervene and there was nothing they could do. So me, my partner at the time, my mum and dad, kept her alive on a radiator on level 7 at the hospital.
So she'd come back very cold?
Yes, we were just trying to keep her warm. She kept going really cold and I thought that she was going to die, and we were just trying to keep her alive as long as we could.
Hope died about 12 hours after birth, but Lily, against expectations, survived 24 hours. At a later meeting, Emma Cox wanted to know this.
They asked us if we had any questions. My main question was, would she have survived if you had intervened? And that's all I can really remember, is that one question, because that's all I wanted to know. And then they said that there was a chance that she could have.
Now, 14 years later, Emma asked for her medical notes to understand why they refused to resuscitate her second baby. In those notes, a doctor wrote that Lily had birth defects not compatible with survival, but adds, "I have encouraged the parents and grandparents to keep the little girl with them and warned them she may live for many hours." So this is where you held that first meeting?
It is, yes.
Emma Cox is part of a campaign group set up by Rebecca Matthews 17 months ago after her own traumatic birth at the JR. It's now grown to more than 600 families. But we have now learned that at their first in-person meeting of just 10 parents, a secret recording was made and then reported to the police by this woman.
I have a little baby.
Joy Randolph.
She told the group she'd had a difficult time postnatally at Oxford. It wasn't, they felt, comparable to the experiences that everybody else was sharing at the time.
When we were talking about what should we do next, everyone else there was very keen to do things like call for an inquiry or hold the trust accountable, whereas this particular individual was making suggestions such as volunteering on the postnatal ward or fundraising to raise money for the hospital, which just didn't sit with people who were harmed by that postnatal ward.
An online search found Ms Randolph is involved with voluntary maternity research led by Professor Lawrence MP, a senior figure at the John Radcliffe, who has described her as a friend. But it was what they later learned that shocked and appalled them so much.
It was recorded without our consent, so our experiences of sharing all of that trauma and the harm that we thought we were sharing in a safe space, we were absolutely speechless.
8 days after that meeting, Ms Randolph went to the police and played them a recording of a mother who'd been there with her severely disabled child. According to her, the mother said,
"I'm tempted to barricade the doors to the JR and set fire to the whole building with everyone in it, to be honest. That's how I feel on a daily basis."
Just on the police complaint, was it valid?
The police responded with no further action and didn't deem what was said, which was a throwaway comment, due to the extreme harm that had happened to this particular individual and her family. They didn't deem that to be a threat in any way.
If there's anything that I feel
there is no suggestion Ms Randolph made the recording with the knowledge of anyone from the hospital. In a lengthy statement, Ms Randolph said she had recorded the meeting because she felt uncomfortable. "My only motive was self-protection," she said, in an environment that didn't feel entirely safe. It is not clear when she started recording, but she added she had not wanted to go to the police, but was genuinely concerned things might escalate. She said it did not feel like a throwaway or figurative remark. It felt like an expression of genuine intent to cause harm, not just to the hospital, but to the wider public. That group, set up by Rebecca Matthews, now has a website with countless testimonies of poor care at the trust, some going back years, but also those whose harm was recent.
All I could hear were babies being born. And I was holding my baby, and she didn't cry.
Joanna, not her real name, lost her baby in August. The pain is still fresh. During her last pregnancy, she was treated for a weak cervix and managed to get to 35 weeks before it opened. The baby was safely born.
But this time, when I got pregnant, I had no contact with any doctors regarding my cervix. I saw the midwife twice the whole time I was pregnant for those 20 weeks. And every appointment I went to, I mentioned my cervix.
Evelyn was born at 20 weeks and 2 days. She breathed for about an hour before dying in her father's arms.
I do some days still try to blame myself. I think I try to find answers. Was it something I did? But no, I know that it wasn't my fault, and I know that the hospital are accountable for it because they picked up on it 3 years ago. So why didn't they pick up on it this time?
Rebecca Matthews' own trauma during birth led her to setting up the campaign to improve services. But only recently she's discovered that during her second pregnancy, a consultant had written on an email to a colleague, "Now that you've met her, do you want her? I don't." The Trust said the incident has been formally investigated and an apology has been issued to Rebecca Matthews. They added, "Our Chief Medical Officer has taken regulatory advice and a process is ongoing with the member of staff."
A consultant did not want to take me on because I was standing up for other women. And it made me think, what on earth is happening at Oxford if they're treating campaigners in that way?
But nothing could have prepared her for the lengthy legal letter sent by a high-profile law firm on behalf of Professor Lawrence Impey, who is also clinical lead for high-risk services at the Trust. It accuses Miss Matthews of spreading grotesque falsehoods. They claim it constitutes medical misinformation, which they say is self-evidently damaging and dangerous and amounts to defamation of Professor Impey. And it even says she is harassing him, including by repeatedly reporting Impey to his employers and submitting or getting others to submit a high volume of FOI requests. The letter demands that she withdraw false allegations. Referring to Joy Randolph, Professor Impey denies instructing her to attend or record the meeting, saying she did entirely of her own volition.
It was a very, very generalised letter, but the language was so upsetting, and I felt that it was intentionally upsetting.
To scare you?
Yeah, that's how I felt. I felt very, very scared.
Neither Mr. Impey nor the Trust would comment on individual cases, but when asked why he had sent the letter, he said, Miss Matthews' harassment and defamation had the foreseeable impact of causing me an immense and continuing amount of alarm and distress. I remain deeply concerned by the spread of medical misinformation as a result of some of the campaign group's published materials and the impact that this will have on prospective and existing patients' ability to make informed decisions about their own health care. Both Ms. Randolph and Mr. Impey have expressed concern at social media posts which named him and the Trust, some of which he specifically said were defamatory. OUH is one of 12 trusts being investigated as part of the rapid maternity review in England, ordered by the Health Secretary and led by Baroness Valerie Amos. She has now spoken to a number of women about their experiences. In a statement, the Trust said,
"We extend our heartfelt apologies to any family who has not received the standard of care they deserve, and our condolences to those who tragically have experienced loss. We work hard to listen with care and compassion to the concerns that have been raised, and we remain fully committed to learning from them. Over recent years, we have taken meaningful steps to strengthen and improve our maternity services. However, we recognise that there is much more to do, and we remain resolute in our determination to go further."
Yet, like so many harmed in other NHS maternity scandals, the Oxford Group have struggled to make sense of what happened to them, of why their babies died or were left severely disabled, and why they weren't listened to.